unpaid presentation. Views and opinions expressed during the program are solely that of Jung Garden Center, not WBEV 95X or Good Karma brands. And welcome along not just to our listening audience, but of course our viewing audience on Daily Dodge TV joining us as well. And we say good morning to Mr. Dick Zondag. Good morning, Dick.
Good morning, John.
How are you on this lovely...
Doing just fine.
Yeah.
A little bit cloudy outside,
But mild.
The spring is coming, I hope.
I hope so, too. We got Easter coming up quickly. Yeah. So what's happening at the store as we speak?
Well, got the bare root room open now, and there's a very good selection of most things in the bare root room. We set aside things this year rather than selling everything in the mail order. The mail order is pretty, I shouldn't say it's sold out because we still have a lot of things to sell, but fruit trees and things like that are pretty much gone. But we do have them in the garden center in the bare root room. So, if you're looking for an apple or a pear or a plum tree, come on over to Jung's and we'll have it. We also have that seed wall and a lot of good employees to talk to about planting. We brought along this morning some of the hanging baskets that are just starting to look a little bit nice, and so we have a couple of petunia baskets, and then I brought along some of the tomato plants and pepper plants that we're sending out through the mail. We send out a lot of tomato and pepper plants, so they're looking good and they're looking green, and I guess it gives you that hope that one of these days it is going to turn around and we'll be able to get out in those gardens and put our flower beds in and get things looking nice around the houses.
Go ahead.
Also, time to get the lawn going. You can get that first application of fertilizer on now because with the rains, the grass is starting to green up, and you want to have nutrients for those plants to get started, the grass seed. And grass mainly grows in the spring and in the fall, and so you want to fertilize it when it's most advantageous for the lawn. And so you put the first application on in this time frame and get that grass up and green and growing thick so that the crabgrass can't come through. Crabgrass preventer should be put on when the forsythia is in bloom, and I haven't seen any of them yet. Or if you've got a soil thermometer, when the soil temperature at 6 inches deep gets to 55 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the time when the crabgrass seed starts to germinate. And so, you have to have that crabgrass preventer on before the crabgrass germinates, because once it germinates, it's there. And then as far as the perennial weeds, the dandelions and the creeping Charlie and things like that, you want to wait until that starts to grow a little bit, because the herbicide that you use on the perennial weeds is most effective when the plants are growing, and so that's probably another 3 or 4 weeks away. The crabgrass preventer probably in another week or so. And the reason you want to wait for the forsythia is that if you put it on too early, it lasts about 4 to 6 weeks, and so you want to have it on while that lawn is establishing and getting going, so that those holes in your lawn, the spots where there's no grass growing, can get filled in by the bluegrass so that the crabgrass doesn't have a chance to get started.
All right.
Lots of stuff to do. I haven't uncovered my strawberries yet. Probably I'll be doing that in the next week or two. But there again, you want to hold those strawberries back a little bit so that if we get some late frosts, which it seems like we're going to get this year, that it doesn't kill the flower buds and take your strawberry crop out.
Right.
So,
well, Dick, your legions are calling, so let's go to the phones. Good morning. You're on the air with Dick Zondag.
Good morning. Hi, Dick. This is Tanya in the Germ Lab.
Oh, hi.
Hi there. I got a question. So when I was down in the garden center,
Right.
a kind gentleman came in and said, I'm here to buy Roundup Ready seed. And I said, well, we only sell non-GMO. And he looked at me like I had two heads. So I'm wondering if you could help explain the difference between Young's and Jung's.
Okay, well, the
question.
Young Seed Genetics is not a
I'm
part
gonna
of Young Seed Company
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm going to, bye.
Okay, she's going to listen to the answer off.
Okay, well, the Young Seed Genetics, which has all the GMOs for the farmers, and that particular type of plant is genetically modified so that the herbicides that they use on it don't affect the corn, but it does kill the weeds, and so it's good in effect. It's good in a point that you don't have to use a lot of herbicides on the corn. But the Jung Garden Centers and Jung Seed Company, we do not sell GMOs. We've set a policy on that. None of the seeds that we have, none of the sweet corn or any of the things are GMOs. They're all hybrids that are done. They're not interspecies crosses. So, yeah, the GMOs, there's lots of controversy about them. And so we stay away from the GMOs. They take genes from one plant and put it into another plant, and it's a very technical procedure. It doesn't go through the pollen and the stamens and the pistils, and so as a seed company, which is different than the seed genetics, we've decided that we don't want to have GMOs in the catalog. So,
All right. Let's go to the phones, and you're on the air with the Garden Doctor.
What's the best time of the year to thatch your lawn?
to thatch it right now.
Yeah.
Right now is the best time to do that, because what you'll do then is you'll take all of the old dead grass, and what it does is it gets in and kind of rakes the dead grass up to the surface, and then you rake it off. And you should do that once in a while, because if you get too much thatch and you're not taking the grass clippings off the lawn as you're mowing the lawn, that organic layer that comes from the grass that's decomposing, if it gets too thick, the grass actually comes and grows in that layer and becomes a lot more susceptible to the drying out in the summer. So it's a good thing to get the lawns dethatched if you're going to do it right now, and then get the grass clippings and put those in the compost pile, because they make good compost. And then fertilize your lawn so you get it off and running, because when you're dethatching, you're kind of tearing things up, and you may tear a little bit of the grass plants up also. And so you want to fertilize it so that it gets a good start again.
Can you do it when the ground is still frozen in the spring?
I don't think you're going to get as much thatch up, because if the ground is frozen, that means that the thatch is probably frozen too. So I think it's better to wait until this time of the year when the ground is thawed out, and that way you can rake that thatch, or however you want to do it, up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thanks for the call.
Thanks for your call. 885-4446 is the number to call. You're listening to The Garden Doctor on 1430 WBEV and streaming video on Daily Dodge TV. Let's go back to the phones. You're on the air with Dick Zondag from Jung Garden Center.
See, is it a good time to uncover my roses now?
Yes, roses can take a little bit of frost. So yeah, you can get out and take the soil away, or take the rose cones off, and then what you want to do is prune the dead wood. If you've got some dead wood from roses, and you can tell the dead wood will be brown and the live wood will be green. And so you take all of the dead wood out, and you then cut them back also, so that the diameter of the wood is about the diameter of a pencil. And the reason you do that is because then you've got good, strong buds for the rose to grow. And then fertilize it, because roses are heavy feeders. They like to be fertilized every 2 or 3 weeks if you want to get a lot of growth, and then away you go. And with roses also, we recommend that you use the 3-in-1 Rose Care, which has the fertilizer in it. It has the herbicide and the insecticide that will kill the aphids when they start feeding on the plant.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks for calling.
Thanks for calling. Let's go to the other line. You are on the air with Dick Zondag.
Going back to the thatching. So I used a wire or a metal rake, not a garden rake, but
Okay.
a metal rake.
Yep.
And as I did that, I got quite a bit up, I feel like, but I also feel like I tore up a little bit of my yard too much. Like, what is too much and too little? And then also, there are a couple patches where, I can't really get in there with the lawnmower, so I kind of use the weed whacker there, so it's not the greatest cut of a grass, so I kind of pulled up some of the grass right out of the, right out of the dirt, I guess you'd say.
Sure.
So should I seed that, or should I wait and let that grow in, or?
If there was grass there before, there are rhizomes underground. Bluegrass has rhizomes, and it'll come back pretty fast. And if you're dethatching, you're going to be tearing up some of the green grass, because the dethatching is to tear that dead organic matter up. And especially if you haven't done this in a while and you don't catch your grass clippings, if you just let the grass clippings lay. Don't be afraid to get a little bit of that green grass. If you're dethatching, you probably should have some of that in that layer that's left over, because if you don't, you're probably not getting all of the thatch. And so it's a good idea to thatch every 3 or 4 years. Okay. And then if you're taking the grass clippings off when you're mowing your lawn, you probably don't have to dethatch, because you're taking that thatch off every time you're mowing. Go back and fertilize the lawn, because that'll get those rhizomes active and get them growing and fill that area in. If you've got an area where the lawn is weak and you dethatch, you're probably going to tear too many of the plants out. And there I would seed, and then maybe you use a little bit of that dead grass as a mulch so that the ground is shaded, because the only thing that really kills grass seed is to have it start to germinate and then dry out.
Right.
So.
Okay, one other quick question is a dog peeing all over the yard, and there's yellow burnt spots on the yard.
That sounds familiar.
Best way to do that, is that to just rototill the lawn up and start over?
No, what I would do is take a hose and just hose that area down to leach some of that urine out of the profile, and by doing that, you'll make the soil less salty, because urine is a salt, and that dries the roots out. It sucks all the liquid out of the rhizomes, and so by soaking that area down a couple times with a hose, just soaking it down, it'll take some of the salts down out of the soil profile, and then you can work it up and put grass seed in and start over again.
Okay. So I have some friends that have, like, their whole front yard is full of, is all yellow, so they were just going to rototill and start over.
And that's the way to go too, because then that'll mix all of that fertilizer that the dog is leaving behind in the soil, and if you rototill it, that's mixing it with the soil, and that should be okay to do that. Okay.
So just rototill the grass right in there and mulch, get it all mixed up, and then reseed it.
Reseed it, and then rake it and roll it so that the seed comes in good contact with the soil, and then cover it with a little bit of hay or straw to keep the grass from drying out if we get hot, windy days, and water it until you see the seeds start to germinate. And then you can back your watering off to maybe twice a week, and then for a couple of weeks, and then after that, if the grass is growing nice, you just let Mother Nature do the watering.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for calling.
I have a feeling a lot of people are going to heed that advice, Dick.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the phones. Good morning. You're on the Garden Doctor program.
Yeah, good morning. I was wondering if there was any better, more beneficial time to do aeration, or can that be done? I know being done is probably going to help, but is there a more beneficial time of the year to do that?
Aeration should be done right now. That way, because what you're trying to do is to get more air down into the root system so that the plants grow well. And so if you do it in late spring or in early summer, grass tends to go dormant when the weather gets too warm. And so you're starting the grass to grow over because it's being damaged at the wrong time of the year. So right now is actually the best time to do your aeration if you're going to do it.
So I'll get my biggest bang by dethatching now and then follow right immediately with an aeration.
That's correct. Now, aeration, if you've got a good black soil or a sandy soil, you don't have to aerate. If you've got a sandy or a clay loam or a clay, then aeration does a lot of good.
Oh, yeah, mine is more sandy, so I shouldn't have to...
No, if you've got a sandy soil, you don't have to aerate because there's plenty of air in the soil. And
Okay.
the other thing I'd tell you with a sandy soil is use a shady spot mix rather than the bluegrass because the fescues, which look very much like bluegrass, do much better in a soil that has to be watered more. So
Okay.
use the shade-loving grass seed rather than the bluegrass if you've got a real sandy soil.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Thanks for your call.
Thank you. And let's go to the other line. You are on the Garden Doctor program.
Hi, that's me, right?
Yes.
I have these elevated round clumps of grass.
Okay.
They must be weeds. What would that be, and what do I do to get rid of them?
Is the soil elevated?
Yeah.
It means that you've got something underneath working on the ground. What you want to do is use a grub killer.
Okay.
Grass. Some of them have fertilizer in them, some of them don't. But use a grub killer because what happens then is you're killing the grubs that the voles and the mice are there trying to eat, and so you're killing their food and they disappear. So that's when the tunnels that you see, or if you've got a raised area, that's probably what's happening.
Well, these are about a foot in diameter. And they're mainly in the back, like underneath the trees, like the apple trees and
Okay.
a spruce tree.
What I do is take a picture and email it to me.
Okay.
My email address is very simple. It's just dick@youngseed.com, and just put on there that you talked to me on the radio program in the subject, and I'll take a look at it and see if I
All
can
right.
determine
Thank
what
you.
your problem is.
Sure. Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you for your call. 885-4446 is the number to get on to the Garden Doctor here on WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. Let's go to the next caller. You're on the air.
Hello.
Good morning.
I have a very large lamb's ear plant, and I was wondering if I can split it.
Yes. Yeah.
And how do you do that? It seems like it's just one big
Yeah.
root and lots of leaves.
Yeah. That some of the perennials are that way, where they just have a single stem. I guess what I would do is trim it back a little bit. Trim because there'll be buds down near the ground, and maybe with a trowel rather than a shovel, dig around it and see if you can take some of that stem tissue off with the root system underneath, and then cut it back a little bit so that it branches out near the ground rather than having it way up at the top, and that should rejuvenate that lamb's ear.
Yeah, I'm just afraid of ruining it because it was so beautiful. I don't know if it'll come back this year. I have a smaller one that is starting to show some greenery,
Right.
but the big one isn't yet. But,
Okay. Well, I would take some of the top off because that will encourage it to throw some buds out near the ground on that stem that's near the ground, and that way the plant will regenerate.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thanks for calling.
All right, this go to the other line. You are on the air with Dick Zondag.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I have a question about our little lime hydrangea tree. We left the blooms on through the winter time, and now we're looking that we were told that we should leave those on and then trim them in the spring.
Right.
I hope that's correct. So do we trim right below the blooms or further down the branches?
No, I would take them off right below the bloom because the buds that are going to break and give you the new flowers later on this summer will come out from near that where it's pruned off. So just take the flowers themselves off. If the plant gets too tall, then you can trim it back by doing that.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yep, thanks for calling.
And let's go to the other line. 885-4446 is the number to call. And you're on the air with the Garden Doctor from John Garden Center.
Hi, I just had my lawn fertilized yesterday, and they put the crabgrass preventer on there. I have a couple of low spots that needed to be filled in and reseeded.
Right.
How long do I have to wait before I can reseed that?
Yeah, see that grass, the crabgrass killer also kills bluegrass. So with a new lawn, you cannot use the crabgrass killer on it. So I would say it's probably going to be 6 to 8 weeks before you can do that.
Okay, how about if I just added soil gradually and let the old grass come up?
That would work too.
Okay.
Yep, that would work too.
All right. I just wanted to know how long I had to wait.
Because the crabgrass killer runs out in about 4 to 6 weeks.
All righty.
Okay?
Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thank
Bye.
you for your phone call. You're listening to the Garden Doctor here on AM 1430 WBEV and Daily Dodge TV. Let's go back to our phone calls. You are on the air with Dick Zondag from John Garden Center.
Hey, good morning, Dick.
Good morning.
Couple quick questions. I'll hang up listening to your answers. Can a guy build a cheap pull behind his mower thatcher cheaper than buying something and, with a yard that's too big to actually rake? Second question is, at what temperature can hanging baskets be left out permanently with petunias, geraniums, things like that? And then the last question is for John and his boss. Do you guys sell anything that will repel woodchucks? I'll hang up and listen. Have a great day.
Thanks a lot, Craig. And I'm sure you've heard the...
we don't sell guns. We do sell have-a-heart traps, which work on woodchucks. It's a real problem because you don't want to injure the animals, but sometimes those woodchucks can do a lot of damage. Mm-hmm. The answer on the hanging baskets, it is too soon to put them outside because they are annuals, and they, being grown in a greenhouse, they need to be kept out of the outside. I would say probably the middle to the end of May. Around Mother's Day is when we do sell most of our hanging baskets, and by then the cold weather is pretty well gone, and because hanging baskets have a hook on them, and if it's going to get cold outside, you can bring them inside for that time. Let's see, what was the first question?
I knew I should have written it down.
Yeah, I should have too. The thatcher, the dethatcher.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. One of the things that works pretty good for dethatching is the street sweepers, like you can put on the front of a garden tractor. I don't know of how you could make a dethatcher easily, because it takes some power to get that grass up on the surface, and I don't know how you'd build something for behind a tractor. I guess like I said, I think the cheapest thing would be to get one of those rotary sweepers that you can use for sweeping your driveway and things like that, and then just run across your lawn with that, and that would take most of the thatch out. Now, if you are doing that, be sure that the ground is not saturated, because you can do a lot of damage to your lawn if you're driving a heavy piece of equipment on it when it's too wet. So that's one thing, caution I would make. But yeah, one of those, I guess that would be the cheapest way to get a lawn dethatched, is to have one of those brushes.
Okay, we do have time for at least one more caller. You're on the air with the Garden Doctor.
Hi, I have some Carl Forster ornamental grasses,
Right.
and I have about 10 of them.
Okay.
So I'd kind of like to know an easier way. Is it better to cut them back or leave them be or whatever? It's quite the job to be cutting them back all
Yes,
the
I
time.
know. You almost need to take head shears, or, there are some electrical head shears or something like that to cut them down. But yeah, it's better if you cut that old dead grass off, because that way they'll start and they'll look much nicer.
Yeah,
So,
I had cut
I
down.
think,
I leave them for winter
yeah,
interest.
they're
and
kind
in
of
the
interesting
spring, I
in the
go out there.
wintertime, because they got
Yeah.
that flower head and things on them. But yeah, you really should cut that off before they get started growing.
Right, get them down as far as I can.
Yep.
Yeah, I did that last year, and then there was a couple that I couldn't get at, and wow,
Yeah.
I had a mess.
Yeah, they
so
grow.
trying to clean them up.
Yeah,
but,
they grow quite a large clump.
yeah, I do like them. They're very pretty. So.
Yeah. It's one of my
Thank you.
one of my favorite ornamental grasses.
Yep, yeah, and I like them because they don't spread. I mean, they get a little bit larger, but they add a lot of nice visual interest to the
Yeah,
garden.
they make a very nice background for an annual
Yes.
garden. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for your call, and that'll be it for phone calls. Dick, what's again is happening at the store?
Well, the bare root room is open, and I would think now, if you can dig in the soil without mudding things in, you can plant things now in our area. So it's time to get in and get the fruit trees or the raspberries or strawberries or whatever you want to plant in your garden. We've got a good supply for the garden centers. And then the seeds, there's still time to germinate a few of the seeds. The cabbage family, the tomatoes can be started yet from seed, and you'll have a decent-sized plant to put in the garden. I think it might be getting close to too late for petunias and things like that. But we've got a good supply of that, and if you don't have time to start them, we'll have all kinds of annuals in another 2 weeks, and it'll be time. The other thing I wanted to say, John, is I wish everybody a happy Easter.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you all go to church and celebrate the saving of the world by our Savior Jesus. So, head for church this weekend, and those Easter lilies look really nice.
All right, and store hours.
Store hours are 8 to 5 Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 on Saturday, and of course Randolph is not open on Sunday. The other stores are 9 to 5 Monday through Saturday and 10 to 4 on Sunday.
All right, Dick, as always, thank you for lending your expertise, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, John.
All right, and that will do it for today's program.
The following